Hello, everyone. It's me, Alonda. I'm coming to you as Alonda Kusimo now. This is something that has been very near and dear to me, as over the course of the last 2 years, we have been uh, having an application or going through the process of immigration, um, having a U.S. citizen file a petition for their foreign spouse, which is my husband, who's from Nigeria. Many of you all know. So I want to share with you my point of view because I think it will shed some light as we go into 2024 election, just to give you help you better understand what's going on. So what I would ask you to do is definitely share this, invite people. If you know anyone who's dealing with immigration issues, who's waiting on their visa, interview, or just the entire process, please share that with them. Share this with them, please, please, please. And as I stated, let me state this disclaimer. This is my experience, my view, and I'm not blaming anyone for anything except the process is broken. The process is broken. And as we get into it, you'll understand why I am saying the wall is not the only issue. The border is not the only issue. So please share this. If you are in a state or a country where you know that your congressman or U.S. Senate representative has a passion and desire to talk about immigration reform, talk about the immigration backlog, as well as the issue with the border, please tag them in this. I really want this to go viral because you're getting ready to hear from someone who's living it, who's in the moment. And I'm going to share my experience, but I'm also going to share information with you as it relates to what's going on. Those of you all know I've been actually having a cold, so I'm getting over it. But nonetheless, I feel that it's time for me to go public about this. So please, I encourage you to share with everyone. First of all, let me give a huge kudos out to those congressmen and state representatives who have responded to my emails, but more importantly, let me give a special thank you to Mary Rodriguez, who is, she works out of Jasmine Crockett's office, who is our caseworker. So I do want to let you know that the process that's put in place for Expedited does work. So you do have to utilize it and just follow the plan that they've given you. However, in my situation, it's unique. So we're trying to get individuals to understand it. So before I share my personal journey with me and my husband working through immigration and why we say it's not a border issue or a wall issue, it's I truly believe it's a backlog issue. And so I just want to, you know what? No, let me share with you our story. So my husband and I got married in November of 2022, 11/25/22. And when we got married, prior to that, we had put in for him to come and visit the U.S. so he could speak with those people that were important to me to ask for my hand in marriage. If you're of the Nigerian culture, then you understand that there are things for you to do. The first time we submitted, he was denied. They said that encouraged me to come to the UAE to visit. And so we said, okay, so we tried again. The second time it was denied without reason. So fast forward, we went ahead. I did come to the UAE. We were married, and we then began to apply for the visa for him, the I-130, for him to come to the States. We have been on this journey since February of 2023. And so we've made it all the way to the point. So I want to share with you the process that happens so you'll have an understanding. When a person applies for a visa for their spouse who's an immigrant to come to the States, you have to do a petition. When you do that petition, it goes to USCIS, which is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office. They approve the request. Once they approve the request, then it goes to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center is where you submit all your documentation, you complete all the application. Understand, I'm talking about an I-130 spouse visa. We submitted all the information. Once National Visa Center receives the information, they look at it, they review it, they go over it. Now, I want to show you how much information, because the same information that we have to upload in the system is the same information that once they grant our interview, we have to take to the interview with us. So let me pause because I want to show you. Because you're probably thinking, oh, it's just 1 or 2, 3 documents. No. They want to know that our marriage is legitimate. They want to know that it's not an arranged marriage. They want to know that I wasn't paid by him to come into the States to have a better way of life. They want to know that we have to prove that our marriage is legitimate. So those of us who know us, they know that our marriage is very legitimate. Then once it goes to the MVC, these are the binders that we had to put together for us to take to the MVC office. Once they look at all that documentation that I just showed you, because we uploaded the same documentation, once they review it, then MVC sends us a letter telling us that we're clear. Once we are clear, then they notify the embassy. The embassy then gives them a date, gives us a letter telling us that we can go and schedule an interview date. And once we get that letter, he has to go take a medical. We schedule the interview. Once that happens, then the MVC now forwards our information to the immigration office where we're going to have the interview. Now, that process for us has taken it took actually 1 year and 2 months, I believe. I know it was over a year. So now we're waiting on the interview. So you're saying, okay, well, what happens in the interview? Well, in the interview, you sit in front of a person who's already reviewed your information. They ask you questions. And that one individual, in a matter of 10 minutes, has the right to make a decision to say, yes, I'll grant your visa, or no. So for us, a 2-year process, 1.5 year, 1 year, 2 months process is now at the mercy of an individual that's going to interview us for 10 minutes to say, yes, our marriage is legitimate or not, and grant my husband a visa into the States. If that person says no, we have to start this process all over again. Now you say, Alonda, well, why are you here? What makes your case unique? This is what makes our case unique. We understand that there's a waiting period. However, we are currently living in the UAE. And right now, the UAE is not renewing visas for Nigerians. Remember, our case is housed in the UAE. On October the 24th, my husband's visa expires. When his visa expires, he must leave the UAE. That's not an option because they're not renewing Nigerian visas, nor are they allowing them to come in. Okay, so you say, Alonda, we'll just let him leave. Perfect. Right now, if you know what's going on in Nigeria, it's really not the best. However, if he does have to go home, then he goes home. But when it comes time for them to when it comes time for him to actually schedule his interview appointment, remember, that's what we're waiting on, to schedule his interview and to go get his medical, which has to be done at a specific office that is assigned by the embassy here in the UAE. If it is after October the 24th, my husband cannot come back into this country to have his interview, nor to have his do his medical. So you say, well, Alonda, transfer the case. Here's the uniqueness about the case. He cannot transfer the case until he's back in the country where he wants the case transferred to, which is his home country. That's one. Two, his home country has to accept the transfer from the embassy that's sending it to them. So that's why for us, my husband's case is unique, and we're seeking for to have it expedited. So just wanted to tell you a little bit as to why this whole immigration wall issue, border issue has become a concern to me, because I'm living in it. So now let's talk about the issue that's going on that everyone's talking about, that's going to be a game changer for election 2024. I get it. I do. So the things that have been out in the atmosphere is that we need to stop them from coming in. They need to come in because they're coming for a better way of life. They're coming because they want to run away from things that are happening in their country. All that is true. However, there is also a portion of individuals who take the route of coming across the border because of the backlog of our country's process with the U.S. Embassy. So yes, there is a small portion who are not disenfranchised, whose life is not threatened, but who understands that they want to come to our country because they're afforded a better way of life. But they can take the same amount of money that they will pay into our system and go the legal route. They can take that same amount of money, and for the lack of better terms, they can do an underground process to get them to the border and come through for the same amount of money, but the less amount of time. And even when they come through the border, and mind you, the Texas border is not the only issue. You have San Francisco, you have Canada. So they're not just coming through just a border issue. They're walking across. There are taxis waiting on them to come from Canada over into New York that will pick them up and get them. Once they're in the country, then we have to address them. We have to take care of them. So there's a lot that's going on. I don't want to talk about the responsibilities that taxpayers assume when someone comes through the border. But what I can tell you is this. When my husband is granted his visa, he cannot receive financial aid. He cannot receive public assistance. He cannot receive Medicare. He cannot receive food stamps, and neither can I. And if either one of us try to, he will be deported back, and I'm fine with the possibility of going to jail. Now think about this. An individual who's going legally wants to come in for a better way of life, who wants to contribute to the tax base of our country by getting employment. He wants to come in to be an asset to our country because he doesn't have an option to be a liability. But the very person who's coming through the border, we have to assume and we have to take care of them. So are there certain things that they get? Yes, they get Medicare. And it depends upon your state, what your state has set aside for them. But for us, the legal way, there's nothing for 5 years until my husband can apply for citizenship, because he has to wait. He's either going to be granted a 2-year or a 5-year visa. So if we address the issue of our backlog, now let me talk about our backlog, because we all know The border issues, yes, we have issues with security and enforcement. We have issues with the humanitarian's concern. We have issues with the policies and the regulations. Yes, we're focusing on that. But now let's talk about the backlog issues. The backlog issues. We have issues with the processing delays. We have issues with the system inefficiencies. Keep in mind, there has not been an immigration reform since 1986. Think about technology, where it's gone from. And then think about what I just told you. We have to upload documents. Plus, we have to also print it out, kill trees, print it out, and take the same information that was uploaded, take it in paper form to the interview. Then we also have the legal and the bureaucratic hurdles that we have to go through. That's one thing. But when we talk about the backlog, I want to give you some numbers on backlog. And if you want my receipts and fact check me, all this information can be found on travel.state.gov. So updated as of July 2024 for the month of June, cases that are ready for interview, that the MVC has said these cases are ready for interview, is 448,285. The number of cases that have been scheduled is 53,450, which leaves a remaining that are waiting for to receive that letter, which is us, to say we can schedule an interview and go take your medical, is 394,835 per month as of the month data. Now, in 2019, which was just a few years ago, that number was 60,866 people waiting for an interview per month. So we've gone from 2019, which was just 5 years ago, 60,000 waiting, to now we're at 394,000. So now the next issue when we talk about backlog issue is how many embassies do we have that can process? Because the number of embassies do matter. And then if you only have one, or you only have 2 or 3 people working in the embassy location, and you have a backlog and your location has, let's say, 20,000 of the cases, but you only have 3 people for a 10-minute interview, 10-minute, 15, depending upon what visa they come through, right? But I can tell you, from the people that we know that have done a spouse visa, the interview has been no more than 10, 20 minutes. There's a total of the U.S. embassies. There's 173. If you want to know where they all are, as I stated, you can go to travel.state.gov or you can go to visaplace.com. And then there's 88 consulates. So where are the largest cases? Of course, it's where everybody is talking about the border. It's in Mexico. Absolutely. So if you know that the country that has the largest amount of cases and they're coming through the border, could it possibly be that the things that America is saying that individuals are running from their countries to come to the States, sex trafficking, better way of life, drugs, cartel, rape, molestation, lack of jobs, lack of opportunity. If that is the case, then can that person really wait 10, 15, 3 years for you to process their visa? And if their answer is no, then I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to put my life in jeopardy. I'm going to put my family's life in jeopardy, and I'm going to go the underground way, and I am going to come across the border because the cost is the same. What they pay to come across the border illegally, to pay underground people, is the same amount that we spend going through the process the legal way. Because once we get through the country, once they enter into the U.S., now we're responsible and we're going to take care of them. All while the ones who are processed legally are waiting to come for the same reasons. There are stories on YouTube. We talk about they come, they don't have anything. Maybe so. But on YouTube, there are individuals who came across from China. He had a restaurant, couldn't afford to continue to maintain the restaurant, packed up his belongings, went the underground way, and came in with over what's equivalent to 200,000 US dollars that we don't even get to tax from. So for me, we can talk about the border, but at the same breath that we're talking about the border, we need to be talking about the backlog. You have 448,285 cases, and there's only 173 embassies and 88 consulates. CNN reported that for someone in China, if they wanted to come, it would approximately take them based upon the flow now, it would take them 134 years before they even get an interview. So I hope you can see why I'm saying the border is not the only issue. There's a greater issue, which is our backlog. There's a greater issue, which is immigration reform. It needs to be redone. It needs to be looked at. So when I looked at the issuance, because, the question was going to be, well, Wanda, they're processing as much as they can. They're doing the best they can. Nah, I'm not going to buy that one. And again, let me say my disclaimer. This is my journey, my experience, and what I have looked at and what I have reviewed. There's a report that comes out every month on travel.state.gov, which is the monthly statistics of cases that are being done in every embassy. So I looked at the embassy where our case is, right? They processed several visas. For the month of May, that office processed spouse visas, which is us. They processed 2. But for the all visas that are coming, that are in waiting, they have scheduled for, they processed 256 cases. 256 cases. The average case, you're only in there for about, I'm going to say an average of 30 minutes. I know for spouse, it's about 10 to 20. My husband's first 2, before we got married, when he was wanting to come to ask for my hand in marriage, one was less than 7 minutes because you're at the mercy of the person who's sitting behind the desk. 256 cases were processed in the month of May. Out of those 256, only 2 were spouse cases. Go to the month of June, same location, total number of cases. Total number of cases for June, 317 cases. Spouse, our type of visa, 1. Now, I don't know how many people are working there because they don't have those stats. You can't call, you can't talk to them. We cannot reach everyone. Our families keep saying, call them. You can't call. It tells you in the letter. Do not call until 1 year after your case has been approved by MVC. So that's why I reached out to my Congressman Jasmine Crockett's office, because we have a unique situation. But these are stats of why I want you all to understand. It's not just a border issue. So challenge your senators, challenge your state representative, challenge your congressman. It's a backlog issue. So let me make it personal for you. The people that come through the border, when they come through, I told you we have to provide them with minimal public assistance, Medicare. Some states provide them with a stipend. Some states provide them with food assistance, right? Now, remember earlier I told you when my husband comes through, we can't access any of that. He can't access it. Even if he wants to go to school, he cannot even apply for financial aid. So as a U.S. tax-paying citizen, I understand we want to be concerned about the border, but there's no control of the border right now. There's no process. So every time they come through, which is on the average of 4,000, but yesterday, Sunday, 13,000 came across the Canadian border into New York. So your tax dollars, which goes towards Medicare, food assistance, and the stipends to help those individuals for a better way of life. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. Yes, I am saying they don't deserve it because they should have the same benefits and the same responsibility that my husband and I have to go through when he came the legal way and nothing's affordable, nothing's available to him, because when I signed on the line to say I will sponsor him, the country says that, Alonda, you said that you can be financially responsible for him if he does not have a job. And when he has a job, he will contribute to the tax base the same as every other U.S. citizen. But he doesn't get to take advantage of it. Help me understand that. Help me understand that, because that's the part that's not wrapping. I can't wrap my mind around it. He comes into the country, he gets a job, you take out the same taxes that you take out of a citizen, but he's not allowed to be a benefactor if he ever needs those benefits. But the individuals who come through the border, because they maybe chose not to go through the legal process because of the backlog issue, gets those benefits. So if you want to actually come into this country and you're smart and you're intelligent and you're like the business owner from China, I'm going to come through the border because now I can take advantage of the Medicare. I can take advantage of the benefits. I can take advantage of the food allowance. I can take advantage of housing. I can take advantage of scholarships. Whatever you have to offer me, I can take advantage of. And I came through with over 200,000. What's equivalent to 200,000 US dollars that you can't even trace? But for my husband, you want our bank statements, you want our assets, you want our houses, planes, trains, cars, automobiles, whatever we have, you want it. And all he is allowed to do is to come into our country. Yes, he gets a better way of life. Yes, he is allowed to be with his wife. But he is now a contributor of the tax base of our country. Because when he gets a job, because he's legal, so he doesn't have to work under the table. He doesn't have to catch out on the street corner. He doesn't have to wait for someone to give him an under the table job. He doesn't wait for someone to hire him without papers. He goes and get a job and he contributes to the tax base of federal, state, and local services that he can never be a benefactor of until he becomes a U.S. citizen. So I'm asking everyone who's watching this today, share this. Share it with your state representative. Share it with your share it with people to let people wake up and realize it's not just about the border. The border is only a fraction. But if we fix the backlog, it might also fix the border issue. Just maybe. My thoughts. Just me. Someone who's living in it, living in the moment right now. So please share this with anyone. I will share with you all. I have reached out to several congressmen, of course, my very own Jasmine Crockett, I thank you, Congresswoman, for your office being efficient and effective. To your Chief of Staff, Mr. Kendall Locke, thank you. Mary Rodriguez, thank you for every time that I call from the UAE, you're available to take my call. You don't put me into a voicemail. Thank you. Oh, yes. And my husband and I made the decision for me to move to the UAE because we had to show bank statements. We had to show leases where our names are tied together. Well, he can't get anything in the States. So in order for us to have that checklist off of our list, I had to come here. So when we go in front of this person, that's another check that hopefully they'll give us. So yes, I've been here since May of 2023. I've been here since May of 2023. You don't think I want to come home? You don't think my husband wants to come to the States? So yes, it's a backlog issue. If we just take a glean of our focus and listen to some of the congressmen and the senators who want to address the backlog issue, maybe that'll help us with our border issue. Just maybe. I'm not saying it's factual. I'm not saying that there's not information that I haven't missed, because what I share with you is my personal journey with my husband. But I can tell you that there are people, elected officials, who do care, who care beyond just the now. So if you know of, and you are one who will be an advocate, and you will write to them and say, thank you for looking beyond the border. Thank you for looking beyond the border. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, U.S. Representative Adam Smith of Washington, Senator Kristen Sinema of Arizona, Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, the one who's over the immigration, Senator John Cornyn, Texas, Congressman Colin Allred, Texas, Ted Cruz, Texas. Those are a few that pop out when I did my Google search. That came because no one's talking about the backlog. Everybody's focused on the border. But just maybe if we try to switch our mind and go from the border and look at the backlog, maybe it'll fix our issue. And maybe we won't have to look as a country of saying that we may or may not have Social Security. We've put it on the Gen Xers being entrepreneurs. No, that's a portion of it. But maybe if we release that 400,000 plus individuals who are waiting to come into our states to get a job, to be able to increase and contribute to our taxes, just maybe that could be a small portion that could fix our immigration issue. Just maybe. That's all I'm saying. So for me, it's not just a border issue. It's a backlog issue. So I thank you all for listening. Please share this. I will keep you all up to date on what's going on with my husband's case. Waiting to hear back from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's office. I will let you know. But I would tell you, utilize your resources. The old lady gang in DeSoto, this is what they talk about. You have to use the resources that are in front of you. And that's why it's important that when we elect officials at the local, state, and federal level, it's important that we elect those officials that have a holistic view, not a one-sided view, not a personal view, not an emotional view, but a holistic view that looks at every situation, every possibility. And it doesn't stop with just talking to us about issues, but what changes are you going to make in the process? What changes are you going to make? I stated, immigration reform has not changed since 1986. For those of you who are old enough to think, no, go back. Think about what our technology was like in 86. So if you haven't changed the process in 86, there hasn't been a need to change the systematic processes. There hasn't been a reason to change the process of, yeah, we probably put a website and upload forms. Well, then why am I still printing out this to take to an interview? The same information that uploaded. And we talk about we want to preserve nature. Take this times 400 and plus thousand people. How many trees have we killed? How many trees have we killed? So I don't just look at my situation. I look at the overall picture. Everything that we do has a ripple effect, and it impacts something or someone. So please, I thank you all for listening. I'm done. We will keep you all up to date. As soon as I hear from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's office, or if I hear from any others that I called out to you because I personally wrote them. Of course, some said, reach back out to your local, and I expressed to them that I reached out to them because they have been identified as those who have been a voice for immigration reform, addressing the backlog issue. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for allowing me to share our journey. Until I come back with an update, be blessed. Have a wonderful day. And just know that everything happens for a reason. And there's a blessing in everything that we go through. Even as a country, there's a blessing. So as we stand on the foundation of our country, yes, in God we trust. Have a good day. And remember, smile. You owe it to yourself. No one does it better than you. Take care. Be blessed.